There's something wonderfully amusing about looking back at an ordinary 80s morning, when Britain seemed perfectly content to follow any fitness trend that appeared on the telly. Picture it: patterned carpets stretching across living rooms, sunlight slipping through net curtains, and upbeat exercise music bursting from boxy televisions. Families joined in without hesitation, copying every movement as if these routines were absolute gospel. No one questioned whether the gadgets were sturdy or if the routines were properly approved. They simply felt exciting, modern, and full of promise. It was a decade powered by enthusiasm rather than guidelines, making even the oddest wellness ideas feel completely normal. And yet, if you tried some of those fads today, you'd probably receive a long, careful lecture from a very concerned health inspector. What made Britain so eager to embrace these trends? To understand it, you have to step back into the cultural mood of the 1980s, when the country was buzzing with a newfound fascination for feeling fitter, brighter, and more energetic. For the first time, wellness wasn't something reserved for athletes or television personalities. It was drifting into ordinary homes through colorful exercise videos, cheerful morning shows, and enthusiastic presenters who made every routine look achievable. Britain was discovering home-based wellness long before anyone dreamed of digital apps or online classes. People genuinely wanted to feel healthier, but the tools available were far simpler, far less tested, and often powered more by optimism than expertise. There were no strict modern guidelines, no long lists of safety checks, and very little professional oversight. Instead, there was a sea of glossy magazine adverts and catalog pages promising transformation with a smile and a splash of neon. Looking back, it's clear that the 80s weren't reckless. They were hopeful, curious, and ready to try anything that claimed to make life a little better. And that enthusiasm set the stage for some truly unforgettable wellness inventions. If there was one thing the 80s truly excelled at, it was creating home gadgets that looked straight out of a cheerful science fiction catalog. Open any magazine from that decade and you'd find brightly colored devices promising smoother movement, better flexibility, and a healthier you, all without leaving the living room. There were buzzing belts that wrapped around the waist, pressure pads that lit up when you stepped on them, glowing handheld gadgets that claimed to relax tired muscles, and portable stretch contraptions that unfolded like miniature camping frames. Each item came in eye-catching plastic, often in pastel blues, sunny yellows, or bold reds, giving them the charm of playful toys rather than serious equipment. The adverts were irresistible. They showed smiling families using these miracle machines with absolute confidence, as if good health could be delivered through a gentle hum and a few minutes of effort. The promises sounded almost magical: feel lighter, move easier, look brighter, all by plugging in, switching on, or giving the gadget a quick twist. And the truth is, everyone knew someone who had one of these tucked neatly under their bed, ready for a quick session on a Sunday afternoon. Yet when we look back now, it's astonishing how few checks these devices went through before landing in thousands of homes. Today, many of them would face layers of modern safety testing, design reviews, and detailed guidelines before being allowed anywhere near the high street. But in the 80s, they symbolized hope, novelty, and the irresistible belief that the next clever invention might just be the one that changed everything. Walk into a community hall in the 1980s, and you'd be greeted by a scene that feels almost surreal today. Rows of people in bright neon outfits filled the room, their enthusiasm matched only by the energetic music pulsing from a portable stereo at the front. The wooden floor beneath them carried a gentle warmth, polished smooth from decades of village fairs, school plays, and now fitness fever. Every step echoed lightly, creating a rhythm of its own that blended with the laughter and chatter before the routine began. These classes were wonderfully unpredictable. One week you might be following a lively routine copied from a home-recorded VHS tape, complete with the slight fuzziness of a rewound session. The next week, you'd be doing stretches that felt comically intense, guided by an instructor who seemed convinced that reaching just a little further would unlock a world of new energy, and no one questioned it. If the person at the front said, "Arms higher," or "one more round," the whole hall followed with unwavering belief. There was a sense of togetherness too, that reassuring feeling of arriving with friends, hearing the cold air rush in as the door opened, and finding your usual spot before the music started. The routines might look unusual now, but they brought people together in a way that felt warm, comforting, and full of promise. Looking back, it's extraordinary how normal it all seemed. Today, group sessions like these would be surrounded by guidelines, structured programs, and layers of approval. Yet, in the 80s, they thrived on simple joy, shared motivation, and the belief that moving together just made life feel better, and that optimism carried into every corner of the wellness craze still to come. Stroll down a British supermarket aisle in the 1980s, and you find an entire shelf dedicated to drinks that promise to boost your energy, brighten your day, or deliver a burst of wellness with a single sip. They came in colorful glass bottles, cheerful cartons, and powdered mixes that fizzed the moment they touched water. Many of these health boosters were advertised with unforgettable TV jingles, the kind that played during tea time shows and stayed in your head for hours. And parents, trusting every word, handed these drinks to their families with absolute confidence. Some tonics claimed to be full of essential goodness, others boasted about revitalizing minerals, and many came with bright labels that practically sparkled with optimism. You could almost feel the excitement of shaking a new powdered blend into a glass. Watching it swirl and bubble as if performing a tiny magic trick, it felt modern, scientific, and reassuringly sophisticated, especially at a time when Britain was embracing anything that hinted at progress. But with today's eyes, the story looks very different. Many of these concoctions were packed with hefty sweeteners, curious additives, or bold claims that would never pass modern checks or marketing rules. The promises were big, the science was often light, and the enthusiasm was sky-high. Still, there's something charming about it all. The innocence, the trust, and the way families genuinely believed these colorful drinks were paving the way to a healthier life. And it's that blend of optimism and simplicity that shows just how unique the 80s wellness world truly was. There's a moment when looking back at these old trends where you can't help but smile and shake your head. Did we really do all that? Yet the more you sit with the memories, the more it makes sense. The 1980s were powered by an optimism that felt almost limitless, a belief that technology, bright ideas, and a bit of determination could fix anything. People weren't being careless. They were hungry for self-improvement, eager to feel lighter, stronger, and more in control of their well-being. There was a charm in that simplicity. Communities gathered in halls, neighbors compared gadgets, and families tried new routines together just for the fun of it. The excitement of discovering something modern created a shared buzz that knitted people closer. Even the silliest fads had a way of making life feel hopeful, as though Britain was stepping confidently into a brighter future. Today, we're surrounded by endless rules, warnings, and careful guidelines. Back then, all we had was enthusiasm, neon outfits, and the hopeful conviction that every new invention held a little promise. And it's that spirit, not the gadgets, that truly defines why the decade remains unforgettable, leading us gently toward the final comparison. When you place the bold spirit of the 1980s beside today's carefully monitored wellness world, the contrast is striking. Modern routines are shaped by guidelines, expert approval, and polished digital programs, while the 80s thrived on sheer enthusiasm and creativity, and yet that carefree approach gave the decade its unmistakable charm. We may laugh at those unusual gadgets and colorful routines now, but they remind us of a Britain that wasn't afraid to experiment, have fun, and believe in brighter possibilities. In their own way, those fads captured a hopeful energy we still recognize. Maybe that's why we miss the 80s, even the strange parts of it.